David Geiger is the narrative writer who worked on big hits like Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and was the lead writer on Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition. Safe to say the man knows his way around an RPG. And he recently revealed in an interview that despite his tenure and success, around the 2010s, EA decided to move away from traditional RPGs because they took their audience for granted. And I am putting that lightly. Here's the full quote. "You didn't have to worry about the nerds. You didn't have to try and appeal to them. You had to worry about the people who weren't in the cave, which was the audience we actually wanted, which was much larger." And the phrase "in the cave" meant where the nerds went. The nerds were in the cave. You made an RPG, and the nerds in the cave would always show up for an RPG because it was an RPG. How bigoted. Not all RPG nerds. Now, this is not unique to EA. This is actually fairly common. I wouldn't say the cave metaphor is wrong. I think the way they went about it is wrong. I actually quite like the sound of it. It's very Tolkien. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. So let's run with it. Let's say everyone has a cave, and by cave I mean comfort zone. It's where you keep all the things you like and enjoy. Most people don't go too far from their cave, and when they do leave of their own free will, it's usually to grab more of the things that they already like. The question then is, how do we design and market a game that will pull as many people out of their cave as possible? One common method is based in spatial economics. You put yourself in the middle between all the caves that you're targeting. This is why sometimes you see multiple different gas stations all in the same corner. They've clustered in the middle of as many customers as possible. This kind of works in theory when talking about art because generally speaking, people who like the same things tend to build their comfort zones around the same areas. People who like RPGs tend to build their caves near the RPG field by the Sword and Shield River and the Dungeons and Dragons Forest. So you make a game for those people with these features and set up shop right in the middle of all their taste. But you want more money, and RPG field is only a fraction of the entire population of the continent gamerland. So you start making games that appeal to the crowds from far-off regions, and you set up shop closer to them. The logic there is you'll get these new customers, and the lovely cave dwellers of RPG field are so devoted to you that they will travel further for your game. But I want to add something to that theory, and that's that people will only travel so far, literally and figuratively. Some might make the trek through Action-Adventure Valley, maybe even get as far as Action-Adventure Shooter Canyon, but they're probably not going to go into live service looter shooter Gulch to play games like Anthem, which was so far removed from the roots that they no longer resonated with the citizens of RPG fields. And the shooter crowd didn't care for them because in their eyes it wasn't a shooter, it was an RPG that lost its way. And this is probably where someone will say, this video could have been faster if you had just said a game for everyone is a game for no one in reference to Helldivers 2. But people seem to forget that Helldivers 2 was initially supposed to be for a more hardcore crowd. But their design and balance was really rough during the first few months after release, to the point where the CEO of Arrowhead publicly said, "I think we've gone too far in some areas. We'll talk to the team about the approach to balance. It feels like every time someone finds something fun, the fun is removed." The reality is, in commercial development, you're making a game for someone, and you don't always get the audience you want. Purists will hate hearing this, but sometimes compromising your vision does make your game more successful. Most games make mainstream compromises, they just don't tell you about them. But I believe every game has a point where it can no longer change something without losing something. That's where a lot of modern games go wrong. Because there isn't a gamer that likes every kind of game. You can't even lump in all RPG gamers in the same way that you can't lump in sports gamers and shooter gamers and fighting game gamers. What is a gamer if not a miserable pile of games I'll get to one day? That's the other mistake here. This kind of thinking tends to come from investors, executives, and developers who think it is possible to expand and claim all of gamerland. Not only do they think it's possible, it's a missed opportunity if they don't. And part of that is because of how the industry talks about itself. All the success is lumped in with one another instead of contextualized. The industry is massive and growing, but not equally in all sectors and genres. And to give a little feedback, here's what I think you're better off doing if you want to grow. You don't have to grow, but if you just can't help yourself. Instead of taking your traditional audience for granted, service them good and service them well. Make a game that makes your core audience throw a party so big the fireworks can be seen from any hilltop in gamerland. That in turn gets everyone else's attention. I don't think it's a universal experience, but I'm willing to wager every gamer has purchased at least one video game that somebody else was excited about. And to prove this, leave yours in the comments. I've done it multiple times. My most recent are Blueprints and Expedition 33. And I can go back all the way to 2013 when my Call of Duty friends and I got into Diablo because our coworker had a tattoo and was so infectiously happy to talk about the lore. There had to be something going on here. He gave an arm for this game. That's what happens when you care about your core. The core cares about your game. If you don't care about your core, they don't care about your game, then I'm not leaving my cave.